So this is the Housing Oversight Task Force meeting. We're beginning at the time is 10:07 on June 20th. And we have a few members that are missing. Richard will be attending us later. We have a quorum of 4 members. Laura is off camera right now, but will be joining us when she can.
Yeah, and can you hear the background noise? I can mute.
I don't have any background.
Okay, so I won't mute. If I can hear plenty of background noise. If you need me to mute, I can.
Yeah, no, it's good. You're good, Laura. So what I'm going to do is read 2 statements. One is an announcement, and the other is the meeting goals, and then we'll go into the agenda of our meeting. Beginning today, all Housing Oversight Task Force meetings will be open to the public to attend. The task force meetings will be to review comments from government boards and committees and town residents as well. Housing Oversight Task Force meetings will be scheduled when necessary and will be announced and posted on the town's website. So we will be holding a public be heard at the end, and the approach to that is that there'll be chat comments or questions asked or notifications given to the host, which will be Judith in this case, of that you'd be interested in making a comments. Those will be, and we'll have a period of time at the end of the meeting that will be discussed. This meeting shouldn't be too long, but it may not be the full 90 minutes is what I'm implying. Let me review the goals of the meeting. Today's goals are to review, discuss, and vote on the recent edits to the draft law made by Nan Stolzenberg based on Ulster County's Planning Board's recommendations and required modifications to the draft law. So with that, we will be going through a total of 3 items, 2 of which are from the Ulster County Planning Board's recommendations, and 1 will be due to a large amount of comments and discussions amongst the members in between meetings that we will be reviewing a 3rd item. And that will conclude our meeting, with the exception of some public be heard comments. So the first item, and Judy, if you could begin to share your screen, we're going to go to section 26088, which is and discuss the accessory dwelling units.
In which document, Kirk?
We're starting with subdivision, Kirk.
Okay, so is that not in the subdivision? Is it? I thought it would show up in both.
ADUs are not in subdivision.
It's not ADUs. Okay, so can we move
so.
to the zoning document then?
You want the zoning document?
Yes,
Do
please.
subdivision, guys. Let's start with subdivision, please.
You want to look at subdivision first?
Sure, it's like 1 change in subdivision. It's a lot easier.
Okay.
Okay.
You know where that is?
You can just go to review, and go to next comment. Next change. The
Doesn't really work that way.
it does on mine.
What about just comments on below in the review? Just click on the word comments.
No.
I can
Oh, wait a minute. The reviewing pane. The reviewing pane.
There we
No,
go.
it says there's no comments. It says there's 1 deletion.
Insertion, deletion. Go to insertions.
Yeah, well, it doesn't work like that.
Okay, if you give me a screen, I can do this if you want. And that's it right there. I mean, you got it. That's good. That's
Oh, okay. That's the one you want.
Yes, this is just a modification of the language around affordable housing. Actually, I think it's
Okay, great.
including language of affordable housing in the subdivision code because we are now making rules around affordability in subdivisions. So we had to include the definition of affordable housing and affordable housing unit. That's the change. That's this change. Is that clear? Questions?
I'm just reading it. Give me a second.
So
So the one question I had, I thought that we were saying we were going to go by the county. So this says nothing about the county.
The AMI is federal. It's not county. It's given to the county, and then we have access to it via the county. The federal government provides the AMIs on a yearly basis.
Oh,
So
okay.
in one
But
sense,
it's only the annual, the area median income does imply county, doesn't it?
it implies as calculated by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. That's
Okay.
Yeah, what-
So the United States provides it, but it says this area, they'll say for Ulster County, here's the number. So it's still an Ulster County number, but it didn't come from the Ulster County. It came from the federal government.
correct.
right.
Okay, thank you.
Do we need to put in, specify that it's county?
No,
It's common knowledge.
Okay, there is grammatical error in here, and I will fix it. It should be the prices.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just want to take one more look regarding county here. Yeah, okay. All right, I'm good.
Okay,
are you tracking your change there, Judith?
pardon me?
Are you tracking your change?
I can't hear you.
Are you tracking your change?
I don't understand what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Tracking changes on the document. You just made a change by adding an S.
Yes,
Is there a recording that it's been tracked?
probably not. So let me undo
So-
that and put in the review, tracking, track changes. Okay, now it should. Doesn't always do it. It
Yes,
just,
it's marked with a color now rather than just black.
yeah,
it's
but I don't
underlined
know
and
what
it's-
else it's gonna do, so. But it's colored, it's only one place, so should be all right.
So, there, like to hear a motion to accept the changes. If you could go
I
back.
think it's probably worthwhile going through the entire document, except looking at them all. There's other changes too, if that's okay.
Are there any other
There-
documents in
Yes,
this
there
one?
are. There's a lot of changes in this. So go to the insertion, go to the next one. Go to the next change.
Okay, it's tracked me. So. There we go. Oh, I've never done this. It's the same thing. So. This is the next one. All right,
It's a
let's see.
substantial change. It's the change we care about.
Majors.
Okay.
Essentially, what this is saying is that any major subdivision, at least 10% of new units within a major subdivision must be affordable. And this defines what it means by affordable is affordable for income for people earning between 80% and 120% of AMI. And then the item 1 says during the major subdivision design and approval process, the planning board shall ensure that the approved plats identifies the location and lots of the affordable units. So basically they have to be put on the plat at the subdivision that gets approved by the planning board.
Right.
They can be affordable, they can do it in a number of different ways. One way is to provide principal 1 or 2 family dwellings that are affordable. Do a duplex, do a triplex, a fourplex, or multifamily units. And then the third one says that the other option is that they can donate it to a housing trust or other housing oriented nonprofit to accommodate the 10% set aside. So basically all of this is saying 10% must be affordable. How you do it is up to you, the developer. Options are building ADUs, building 2, 3, 4plex, or donating it to someone that's going to build the required numbers of affordable units.
I have.
So the further, yeah, you have a
one
question?
We talked about rounding it up, and I wonder if we need to specify that.
Yeah, go to the lead paragraph of this. It says
And,
at least,
and set
10%.
aside should not be hyphenated, so I will take out the hyphen.
It says at least 10%.
Was that Jeff?
It says at least 10%. So at least means must round up.
Okay,
Okay, yeah, see, that covers it. Thanks, Jeff, for that.
Yeah.
So I want to give a little bit more explanation to this for those of you who may need it. It's designated, and we'll use example of if there's a major subdivision of 5, let's say, or 11, 10 units. And so now the developer needs to get approval, or the planning board needs to approve and designate to the developer that which of those lots are going to house affordables.
That's not accurate, Kirk.
Okay,
The
please
developer
clarify.
can designate where they are going.
So then it's just a matter of discussing that prior to the site approval. And that there needs to be, the developer would designate and confirm with the planning board, and that would be what's recorded on the plat as to which lots would be deemed, that would be identified as the ones that would have affordable housing on it. Is that an accurate statement,
That
Jeff?
is correct.
Yeah. So then further, then they have the options, and the options are listed as Jeff pointed out in the below here. And the reason why the number 3 is in place is because some developers will say, well, I'm not in a position where I don't know how to build affordable housing. I can't build something that I could guarantee would be acceptable to me to then be forced to rent out as affordable. And so the option is given that developer could then make arrangements with a nonprofit organization of sorts that's their role, that's their model, that they know how to build affordable housing. And so that's why number 3 is in place. Is there any other details on this that we should explain before we move on? Is there
Well,
any-
I have to tell you, I just was I spent the last 5 minutes trying to unmute myself, which I could not, and Judy just unmuted me, so I missed a lot of what you said, and I apologize. But I muted myself because I had noise, and then I couldn't unmute myself. I think
Yeah.
there's a flaw in this.
mute yourself, Laura. I'll let you know if there's a problem.
Excuse me, what, Judy?
Don't mute yourself. I will let you know if there's a problem with noise.
Well, I know, but my cell phone was ringing, and I actually had to get it, so I didn't want it. I muted myself for that purpose. So I will.
The problem is that without your showing the camera, I can't see you. So I can't see if you're muted or not.
Well, anyway, we don't want to digress too much on Zoom issues, but that seems to be a really odd thing with this Zoom, that all of a sudden, because you could see me before you did something, and now you can't see me. You can't see Jude either, who I assume is still here. So that's very odd, because at first, all boxes were showing whether people were on camera or not. And now all of a sudden, for some reason, only those on camera are being seen. So I'm not sure what but we don't need to fix Zoom at the moment.
we're not, let me just clarify for you, Laura. The reason why there's a different protocol is because the rules of this meeting are different than what we've been operating for in the past. So in order for you to unmute yourself, if you should mute yourself, you will have to get permission from Judith in order to do so. You can request to unmute yourself. You can send a request to Jude. Okay. So Judith, excuse me. So that's the reason why it's different than all previous meetings, Laura.
Yeah, but honestly speaking,
Can
we
just
don't have
I'm sorry,
unruly
can we just move on with the code instead of deal with the Zoom stuff? So anyway, what's your concern, Laura?
well, my concern is because I was focused on trying to get unmuted, and I actually texted Jeff and whatnot, I wasn't really listening to the conversation. So I feel like I'm out of the
Do you have any
conversation.
questions about the code that we're looking at, Laura? Do you have any?
Well, I can focus on it now because I'm unmuted. So I'm just going to take one more look. I was reading it before.
So Jeff,
I'd like to read the paragraph that I can't see, the one above this.
Jeff, why don't you give a little background to this?
Okay, so this is one of the required changes from the Ulster County Planning Board. The required change is that we have at least 10% of a major subdivision be affordable. So that's what this first paragraph says. At least 10% of the units within any new major subdivision must be set aside for affordable housing. That's what L says. then 1, 2, and 3, if you can scroll down just a second.
Well,
Jerry.
yeah, but I'm still reading number one. Yeah, and my apologies, because if you're talking, I'm listening,
Take
not
your
reading.
time.
So,
Focus, go ahead.
so what's this, or any other requirements under the financing for the project? Oh, when the project is funded using government funding. I was confused by the last statement here.
So if this project has government funding, there may be other guidelines.
Right,
Yes.
okay. Okay, all right, so I'm good. So if you had a major subdivision, could be five lots, then they have to have one, which is 20%, because at least 10%, so.
5
okay.
units, not lots. Keep in mind, it's units, not lots. We're talking about units. And that's important because a lot can have multiple units. So it's about units, not lots.
Oh, 10% of new units. So we're talking about dwelling units.
Correct.
At one point, we were swapping over from dwelling units to bedrooms.
We're not,
So-
this is not, it's
That's
not,
not
it's
this.
not this,
Now has right, okay.
not this.
Should the word dwelling be added?
No, units is fine. I mean, what else would it be?
Well, I don't know what else it would be. It could be a unit, it could be buildings. It could be any
I
units.
think it wouldn't hurt to add that clarification.
Because units could be, unit is, could be anything.
Understood. She just added dwelling.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you.
And I saved the change. Anything else?
She wants to read these.
Then
Oh,
once
no,
you-
I read that other, I'm good.
So you
Okay.
read this, this basically shows how they can accomplish that
Right,
requirement.
right. I was with you with that part of the conversation, so I'm good.
Okay,
Good.
All right, so then we're going to, I think that we've done. Yeah, this we've done. It's the same thing. I don't know, let's look at what that is here. Okay,
So this is just acknowledging that elsewhere in the code.
yeah,
yeah, this is not, this is just a clarification change, not a substantial change.
okay. I think that's it for this document.
Yeah, that's why Jeff recommended we go through this.
Okay,
first.
I'm saving it. Actually, I need to save it with a new name, so.
Does it make sense to make the motion since we finished a document
That's
to,
what we're doing, Laura. That's what we're about to do.
okay,
So today is 6/20,
Yes.
and I'm changing the date on this copy of the document. Good. I will stop share and we can do what we need to do.
So someone make a motion.
So make a motion to adopt the changes to the subdivision proposed law.
Second.
okay,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
We have a unanimous for it to be noted. So now let's move on to the next item, which would be
Okay, sharing screen. This is the zoning updates,
right.
and I'm going to turn on tracking and show markup. Viewing pane. There we go. I could not remember how to do that. All right, so we are at the top. That's a style definition. I think all we need is, well, okay, there's no way to do it that way. So, all right. So this is the first one of those. I'm going to make a little more room here. Can everybody see everything?
Yes.
Yes,
Except that, of course, I can't because I'm looking at your faces. So I'm going to close that.
Yeah, go ahead and close it because I have view of everyone if they raise their hand.
Okay. All right. Density, minimum lot area per dwelling unit or bedroom.
We
Okay,
are
so,
not going to go into this particular adjustment right now. If you recall, there's still some work to be done, and Dennis Doyle is Nan need to speak further. So this is for those of you who aren't unaware of it, that there was a recommendation from the county to, instead of using units, dwelling units, that we use bedrooms of those dwelling units to calculate density. And there's further clarification and understanding of the effect of this recommended change. So we will cover this at a later meeting. So anything associated with units or per bedroom, we should move through this and not deal with this today, and go to the second, and go to the other ones that we'll be speaking to.
okay, attachment 2, do we want to look at the added and let's see what it is. Okay, that,
We're seeking to approve all of the edits specifically associated with accessory dwelling units and multifamily dwellings.
okay, she just did some deletes, but I'm not clear what they were. Maybe a small thing. And construct. Oh, she took it, the and, I don't understand that.
I think if I have a better way of showing this than you're doing, if that's okay. Can you
Tell me.
I don't know if I can, I don't know if your
Why don't you give him the ability to
doc
share
actually
his
gonna
screen?
work or not? It might be a version thing. But
Okay, multiple participants can share simultaneously. So I'm going to stop share, and if you want to do the share, go ahead.
okay, can you all see that?
Yes,
Yes.
you need to enlarge it though.
Way too small. We don't want to see 2 pages at a time.
No, okay. Let's see, how do I make this?
The Zoom.
Okay,
There
Okay,
you go. Thank you, Jeff. So,
that's the one we already did.
yeah. These are just took out a space, took out a space,
Oh, okay.
took out a space, took out a space.
It's probably visible on mine, but let's keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, here, conversion of an existing 2-family residence or 2-family residence and construction of a 2-family residence, or took out and the construction of a 2-family residence. So the and construction of a 2-family residence is not allowed in all zoning. So
So
basically,
that's something we have now, and it's being reduced. Correct?
evidently,
So what was the reason for removing those words?
I don't know the answer to that.
yeah, we have to hold off on that and get clarification. I'm going to make note to,
Yeah, and why don't you put a comment in on the document, Jeff? Can you, or is this a PDF?
It's a Word document.
You have a very different version of Word than I do.
That's why I was suggesting that we change it.
Yep.
what's the page number? 20.
Okay.
Okay, explain. Good. That's good. We'll move on to the next one.
This is grammar stuff.
Yep,
Added bedrooms to this.
which we'll revisit later.
Unit or bedrooms to this.
Yeah,
Added bedrooms. Probably fixed a reference.
number.
Yeah.
Grammar.
Right.
Why don't you turn on the reviewing pane? You can have both of them.
Oh, this is the
Okay, get this up a little bit higher so we can see the whole
Yeah,
thing.
this to me is a mess. I can't understand this.
Okay, all right. Well, it pages you through, but that's okay.
I'm paging through already by going to next.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, this is a substantive change here.
Yeah, it is.
So one accessory
Go
dwelling
through.
unit detached pursuant to that as accessory to a single family dwelling permitted by with the building permits and not allowed to be short-term rental. So these changes, the set of changes is part of the required change from the county.
Right.
Where we flip which ADUs can be used for short-term rentals and which cannot be used for short-term rentals. So the initial writing was that the second unit could be used, the first unit could be used for short-term rental, the second could not be. The current writing is the first unit cannot be used for STR, whereas the second one might be able to be used for STR under certain conditions.
Jeff, before you go any further, Judith has her hand up.
yeah. Now, I am assuming that existing ADUs are grandfathered.
They're
So this is-
grandfathered until the time that their yearly license expires. Then they must
Well-
reapply.
We will leave that up to the town board, won't we?
Precisely.
Yep. This, again, this is a required change from the county. If we do not have this change, it requires a majority plus one vote of the town board to pass it. To pass it.
Okay.
So I tried to come off, I tried to put my video on, but I'm not seeing it on the screen, but that's okay.
I see
Anyway.
you.
We can
Oh,
see you
okay.
now.
Okay, I only see the three of you, but that's okay. So, and my position and my opinion, which I've shared with some people, and we're a democracy, so I'll probably get outvoted, but I'm not happy with this requirement. I would be totally happy to say that if an ADU is going to be a short-term rental, if any ADU is a short-term rental, that it can only be short-term rental if it's an owner-occupied situation. That's what I would like to propose as a counter proposal, because what I don't want to take away is the person who has been living here for 40 years and they can't afford their property taxes, and the ADU with a short-term rental will help them do so. I'm speaking as an experienced landlord, because I can tell you, and I've spoken to people when I've done my door-to-door, somebody who says, well, this short-term rental is what keeps us going. We've had a long-term rental, it's a disaster. I can tell you as a landlord, having a long-term rental, I've been a landlord for over 30 years. I have had tenants who have been the best tenants. I have had tenants who are the worst tenants. And the worst thing you can have is the worst tenant, and you can't get rid of them because now the laws don't let you get rid of them because it's very hard. So I understand how it's a whole new ball game with your short-term or long-term. And I want to help people who the only way they can keep their house is to have their ADU be a short-term rental, as long as it's owner occupied. That is my opinion. And in a conversation, Kirk, that you and I had, you had said that the county said if we're doing things in concert with the spirit of what they say, which is we want more long-term rentals, and the owner occupied is in a way a long-term rental, because now you got somebody who can be living in their house, and they're not just having one house that non-owner occupied, just a revolving door. What I'm proposing, I think, is a better thing, is to say that as long as the house is owner occupied, then, in my opinion, the first ADU ought to be allowed to be a short-term rental. I could be the only person, I could be outvoted, but that is my very strong opinion.
Judy?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, but I have a feeling you're going to have to get that as an override by the town board, the supermajority, if you can do it.
So the other issue is that there are probably measures that a property owner can go to appeal or to go through a process of gaining and having something like this occur, Laura. That's the reason why we have a ZBA. you know, and there could be a measure that could be looked at individually by each property owner. Yes, Laura.
I don't know if the ZBA could do that just based on somebody pleading hardship. I think there has to be some kind of, I don't know, maybe, but I have my doubts.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Laura,
have my hand back up. I don't know if you can see it,
I
Chris.
see you. I see it, Laura. So go ahead.
Okay, so my understanding, and I know we're not letting Jude talk yet. She is on the ZBA. At some point, we'll let Jude talk. But Jeff did spend time on the ZBA. My understanding, never having been a ZBA member, is that the ZBA overriding of what they, as they make their decision, I believe what's overriding is understanding the intent of the law, so that when they do apply and when they do give you a variance, they want to make sure that they are in concert with the intent of the law, even though they might do a variance. So if the law is crystal clear, the first ADU cannot be a short-term rental, I think that we can't just say, oh, the ZBA might just, you know, they can't just make
Yeah.
anything on a whim. So I do not like this. I believe it should be, if you're going to have if any of your ADUs are going to be short-term rental, you got to have an owner occupied, period. That's what I think the compromise situation ought to be, so that we make sure somebody on that property is a long-term resident. And that's what I would like to see us do, because I think we're killing people who, and I don't want to name names, but I think we're killing people who have STRs that, again, the long-term rental is just not what they signed up for when they built the ADU.
And it's subject to the cap,
And-
whatever the
it's
town
subject to the
board
cap.
does with the cap.
Jeff,
Couple of things. First of all, I support this change. I support it for the following reasons. One, it's a required change from the county, and we're not going to get around that required change. If we don't accept this change, well, the law will not pass, period. We'll never pass it. Two, I think it actually helps us. You know, our definition of owner occupied is hard to define, hard to keep track of in the law. And if we put this in with an exception for owner occupied, I believe would be unconstitutional. I believe that would fall victim of the decision in New Orleans that said you could not distinguish between owner occupied and non-owner occupied STR laws because of interstate commerce. So if we put that in, saying owner occupied only, I think that makes the law probably you know, up for litigation.
vulnerable. Yeah, it's vulnerable to litigation. Yes.
Just one point, the law that the county referred to us to look at, the new one in Hurley, does require owner occupied. So Hurley is going to find out, I guess.
Hurley will find out. Also, Hurley does it by dwelling, not by house, not by. And the definition of owner occupied is owner occupied dwelling, not owner occupied property or lots, which also really bothers me, because our owner occupied means a lot. And, you know, because you're occupying one dwelling on a lot does not necessarily mean to me that it's owner occupied. As far as the argument that people can't afford to live in Woodstock because they have to pay high taxes, I mean, that's definitely a problem, but you can do a short-term, you can do a long-term rental that'll help pay for that, you know, and there is ways to get people out of long-term rentals. You know, we don't have, you know, I've been able to do it. You just end the lease ends. It's very easy to get people out of long-term rentals when the lease ends.
And so,
I've had very bad tenants too. I've had probably, I could compete with Laura for worst tenant ever.
You're making me nervous.
so Laura, go ahead.
Well, yeah, because again, same thing Judy said, Jeff, I know you shared with me, we talked about the STR law potential changes, that Hurley was the, you know, gold standard that according to the county, and Hurley requires only owner occupied. So I am confused that, you know, now you're saying at the one point, hey, use Hurley as the gold standard of STR, and then you're also saying, well, but it's not legal to require owner occupied. Anyway, I'm still, I still don't like this. I still believe that somebody, long-term rental is a whole nother animal. So I've lived it. I've personally managed long-term rentals. I've personally been worried about violent tenants. I've personally had drug dealers. I personally had, there's just so, it's a whole different animal. And I get it when somebody says, I just can't do a long-term rental on my property. I get it. And I want to protect seniors. They're the ones who mostly can't keep up with the taxes because they have fixed income. So I'm going on record saying I disagree with this, and I will continue to go on record saying I disagree with it.
Okay, thank you, Judy.
Laura, my question to you is, do you think the town board will do the same kind of careful reading as we are doing so that they can look at specific issues? Or is it going to be we can override the county recommendation with the supermajority, but people would have to look at every provision of this thing and decide on it. And are they going to do that?
The quick answer is I don't know. We have a fractured board, as everybody knows, and every now and then the five of us agree. It's amazing. So I don't know.
You at any rate could urge them to look at specific things where you have concerns.
Well, this is the only one. I agree with everything else the county said.
Yeah.
As a highly experienced landlord, I am against this.
Yeah. Let's go through. Are there any other provisions of this? It's just the wording that is in the code specifically to this topic.
But it's going to have to also, this isn't Reader's Aid box, so we're also going to have to find it in the main text.
Now I'll just go down. So this is all of that.
Yeah, all of these are the same. Yes.
All basically this. Okay, we'll talk about the second ADU. So you can do a second ADU.
Which can be a short-term.
Typo, can you fix a typo?
Which one, where is it?
Third box down, where for two-family dwelling, the capital E in except should be a lowercase.
It is already.
No, it's not.
Here, you're talking here.
It's already.
I'm talking about number 3, not number 5.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
There you go.
Okay.
Did the whole word, but whatever.
It's all right, whatever.
Yeah. So the second ADU can be a short-term rental only when the first ADU is a deed restricted long-term rental.
Right.
That's a good way to handle it.
Yep.
Deed restricted affordable long-term rental. So
Right.
you can have an ADU, you can have an STR as an ADU if and only if the first ADU is deed restricted as a long-term rental, affordable long-term rental. Yeah.
Oh, it should be can rather than could.
So one thing I'd like to acknowledge is that a lot of comments that have come back from version 1 and then the new draft law was that people will be able to build ADUs and use them as short-term rentals. And that was a big concern. A lot of comments, a lot of concern around that from multiple sources within across our community. And so this change really addresses that concern in our community that more short-term rentals would be constructed using the way we originally constructed the ADU law. And this change speaks to that and changes it. So for that reason alone, I think that, we're acknowledging a lot of concerns that came in from the community about the concerns around short-term rental. And this does also simplify. One of the things I've always been a little concerned around in terms of the new draft law is enforcement. And this will enable a really simple way for the town to enforce what is and what is not allowed per property on each property. So I think that, for those reasons, I'm in favor of this law, besides the fact that the county this is a recommended change. Required, yeah, a required
change.
And so those are the reasons why I'm in support of this law, of this change.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with it.
Okay,
I'm totally fine with this one that we're working on about the second ADU. Totally
the
fine.
other part on this that we can talk about is the removal of the affordable housing fee paid in lieu of.
Yes.
moved
I'm
here,
all in
moved
favor of that.
here, and it'll be removed. I think it's removed in other locations in the document. We've tried to remove it from all locations in the document. That was not from the county. That was from, I think Kirk mentioned at the beginning. That
Yeah,
was public comments that we've heard a lot of is removing all payment in lieu of.
yeah. And my reasoning behind this is that one is we've received multiple comments and concerns about in payment in lieu of justifiably. And
Mhm.
two is that if the town ever wanted to introduce this idea of payment in lieu of, there's a couple things I'd like to say to that. One is the process, the procedures, the fee structure, the agency that will manage it should all be put in place prior to introducing this into the law. That's what's wrong with this right now, is that we're suggesting a payment in lieu of, and there's no process, there's no procedure, there's no fees established. None of that is in place. And so it's no wonder that people would think, oh, what's a few $1,000s to a wealthy person? It was always my thought that this payment in lieu of the fee would be tied to the value of the property. So it would be a very rather significant fee, but even that is not established, and we're not going to establish that in the code. It's going to have to be established by policy set forth by the town board. So I think we should remove in payment in lieu of across the board, because if it were ever to be introduced, all of those things that I just listed needs to already be in place. And so for that reason, I'm in favor of, besides the fact that it is a real concern of our community, that people will simply pay and get out of building affordable housing. This removes that. So I'm in favor of that, of removing this from across.
You want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we view it because we're all in favor of it. So.
Well, I'm in favor of that, but I know Jeff had said
Yeah,
at one
let's go
point,
through the process, Laura. Let's go through the process. So I made a motion. Do we have a second?
I have a second.
All right, Judy is the second. And now all in favor of removing in lieu of payment of.
well, where is discussion? Are we going to discuss?
Oh,
My
did you
just-
want to
My
discuss
discussion is
further?
before Jeff said he thought we ought to be doing everything in one lump. So are we gonna make a motion on each of these individually?
Yes, because they're individually identified as issues that we
Okay.
need to address. So we're
Okay,
just brought it up because I think it's fairly, there's a lot of locations where it's mentioned, and rather than just going through, but the principle of it is what we're voting on, not
Yes,
the
what-
locations of it.
all right, I'm a yes.
So
Yes.
again, we had a proposed motion. We had a second, and all in favor, please raise your hands visually and say aye.
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 Okay, we have a unanimous vote. And so the payment in lieu of is approved.
And that's throughout the document. It's just,
Not the document, that's what
I'm gonna mark it here so that she can see it and she.
got it, because that's the first occurrence of it.
yes.
Well, so Kirk, that being the case, do you want a motion on the second ADU?
Well,
Probably
the second
should.
ADU is something that this particular box that we're looking at, is it, this change here, are we in favor of, the question is from Laura, are we in favor of having the second ADU be deemed available to be used as a short-term rental, with the agreement that the first ADU would be a long-term rental and deemed affordable, and it would be deed restricted. So that's what this particular line designates. Any
And
clarification?
this is a reader's aid box, so we need to find it in the actual code.
Okay, Jeff?
And this is tied to the first ADU requirements too. I mean, in some ways, I don't disagree with this. I mean, I agree with this particular thing, that the second one should not be an STR unless the first one is restricted to be affordable.
Right.
But the way, if we don't make these changes, this is more permissive than what we have now. Because right now, the second ADU can never be a short-term rental.
Right.
So this is allowing, in theory, more STRs than we allow now.
If we don't make the first
If we
change.
don't make the other change.
Right, agreed. Because then people could have two short-term rentals on their property.
Well, no, they
because
can't.
The first would have to be affordable AD.
But
affordable.
no, you can only have the second if the first is affordable. So I think that this solves it, because you can only have one ADU by definition right here, because the first STR has to be LTR deed restricted.
But you could then have, but under the current way we've done this, if you have the first ADU as being a deed restricted affordable, you don't get an STR. This is allowing you to get an STR. So it allows more STRs than we currently allow under the existing version of our code. I don't like that idea,
I'm confused.
right?
Well, theoretically, because right now we say the second cannot be an ADU. So we flat out say the second.
STR, Laura, you keep saying ADU, you mean STR.
STR. Yeah, the second ADU cannot be an STR. Yeah. So right now, our current proposed law says the second ADU cannot be an STR, and you don't like it that this is allowing the second ADU in some cases to be an STR.
Correct.
No, it's allowing the first one, but the second one is deed I'm getting confused.
Okay. So under the current law, let's go back to the current law. The current law says the current law allows the first ADU to be an STR.
You mean the current proposal that we are making?
Correct. The current proposal that we're making, the current proposed law, that's allows the first ADU to be an STR. Allows it, doesn't say you can or can't, this just allows it. Does not allow the second one to be an STR. That's the current proposed law.
Right.
What the county is asking us to change it to, recommending we change it to, is that the first ADU cannot be an STR. And the second ADU can be an STR if you make the first ADU affordable. So in other words, the first ADU under the county proposed change must always be long-term rental. Does not need to be affordable, but it must be long-term.
Right.
If you happen to make it affordable, then you can build an STR as your second ADU.
Subject to cap.
Subject to whatever other laws will provide that.
Right.
So the idea then is, and it's somewhat of a incentive to create affordable ADUs, because you're saying, you know what, if you want an STR, if you want to, get into this pile of money from STRs, make an affordable long-term rental.
Right.
It actually encourages more long-term rentals.
Yeah, it does.
And those to me go together. If we now say, if we only change the second ADU, but not change the first ADU, you can make your first ADU a long-term rental, not affordable. And then your second one, never mind, you can't do that, but it doesn't
Right.
quite encourage, it doesn't really encourage the second one as much. It's just, I think they kind of go together.
I do too.
I don't know if this stands alone is something that I would support.
So I think what Jeff is stating is that the current edits strengthen our code to support long-term rental and also supports affordable long-term rental. Those two things get achieved through this code.
And writing this code, all of those current ADUs that are short-term rentals could, depending on how the town board deals with it, end up having to be long-term rentals in the future.
Under the current, under our original proposal.
No, under this proposal, under the change.
Under this
okay.
page.
Under the change, we may
Okay.
be able to claw back long-term rentals
Over time.
with this change.
Yep. Which I am in support of. Yeah, and
Well, so basically, since what we're saying is every year you have to renew your short-term rental application. So we're saying whatever year this law goes into place, the next year, everybody's ADU has to be a long-term rental.
well, it depends on what the town board
That's what
decides.
the town board says.
They could still allow short-term rentals with a cap and certain numbers in certain instances. So it's really, it falls back over to the town board to manage the short-term rental law, because
To manage the grandfathering.
To
Right.
manage the grandfather clause of it. Yeah.
Right, right. So that would be up to the town board, but it would be in the law. First of all, going forward, anybody that builds an ADU, they're going to follow the law according to what we're proposing here. Looking backward, all the current accessory dwelling units that are short-term rentals would have to be evaluated by the town board when the renewal comes up. Yes, Judy.
I'm wondering, this is the reader's aid box, but I'm wondering whether in the law we need to make clear that that is subject to whatever caps are in place, however we word it. Because whether it's can or could, one could read this as saying, yeah, I can have an STR because I already have a long-term affordable unit.
Right. So I think,
I think we can't do it everywhere. I think that the short-term rental has got to be, because there may not be a cap. I mean, the town could change a law and take a cap away.
I know, but
So I
if
don't think we
there
can
is a
always.
cap,
yeah, here's what I propose. Allow that we're reviewing these edits. We're going to get it back with the edits approved or not approved, from NAM. We're going to get another version back. We can review at that point any additional language associated with said law of short-term rental. And that's what I propose, rather than us trying to additionally write any edits. So I'm proposing that we just review and approve or disapprove the current edits that are in this document and allow further reviews of other additional edits that will come in the future.
so right now we're looking at the reader's aid box, and whatever we do here needs to be in agreement with the actual language of the code.
Yeah, and that'll be Nan's responsibility, and she probably already has, if we go through the code.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's already through the code, throughout the code, wherever short-term rentals are mentioned, or ADUs, wherever ADUs are mentioned. She's already created edits. That's what this is all about. But if we do it here, then that will enable her to the ripple effect will occur when we give her notice. So any further discussion on this particular item, the second ADU?
Well, we have a mixed vote on it. We didn't actually vote. And I don't know, we're telling Nan about it. So about the second ADU, I like it as written. I know everybody else says they don't. So I don't know what instruction we give to Nan.
No, I like the way it's written, with the exception, because as long as the first part of the law gets passed of the edits, because it's in support of long-term rental. And then we'll let the town board address its own law that it created, the short-term rental law, to address the current circumstance in all grandfather properties, right? So go ahead.
Just for clarification, second ADU is permitted. It doesn't really say the first one has to be deed restricted. It says that the first one has to be deed restricted if you ever want to use the second one as an STR.
Correct. So if you can have two long-term rentals.
And you don't have
Long-term rental that's affordable and an STR. Those are the basic options. Those are the only options, actually.
Yeah.
If you have two, right? If you have two, either they're both long-term.
Then that's fine, and it doesn't have to be affordable.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right.
So again, we're supporting long-term rentals in our town. And there's ways also to create affordable housing, should someone choose to use a short-term rental.
Yeah. And there's an incentive to create affordable.
Yeah.
Through.
Exactly. And
or an incentive not to have an STR.
Yeah.
It could work either way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And two, one of the things that we did just recently, just by the first vote we made, is that we fill the gap in our current code. We had affordable housing designated in the floating residential district. We had affordable housing designated in any individual multifamily units where one unit needs to be affordable. But we didn't have any affordable housing addressed in the middle of our code, which is in the, where most of the subdivision work would be. It would be not floating residential districts. And so now with our recent vote, we've addressed that by bringing
Major subdivision.
in subdivisions, with the 10% issue there. So we're addressing affordability in our code throughout the code, which is an improvement in my opinion. This addresses it even further in terms of looking at long-term rental. So this particular issue is about long-term rentals, not necessarily affordability. So to be clear, we're going to vote on two things here. One is the first, which is to not allow short-term rentals in the initial ADU in our code. So we have,
moved.
pardon?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, and now a vote on it? I'm in favor of this.
Aye.
Okay, we have a 3-1 vote on this. And we will have further discussions if we need to revisit with the other members that are not present, but at this point, it stands as a vote of approval. The second portion of this is the second ADU.
Well, I do want Jeff to put in the record that it was a no vote.
Okay. For the record.
For the record. Thank you.
Want your specific name in?
You can put my name in.
Yeah, I think it's important to Laura that her name be there.
Well,
No,
it can be or not. I just want to make sure it's,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's good. It's public. So then the second vote is to is on the second ADU. And the way it's written now, Jeff, you want to read it?
Permitted with a special use permit, which can be a short-term rental only when the first ADU on the parcel is deed restricted to be an affordable unit.
Okay,
So that says a couple of different things. First, it says it has to be short-term and must be affordable. It must be affordable on the deed.
right, understood. So I'll make a motion that we vote to approve this.
Second.
We have a second. And in favor of?
Aye.
Aye, we have a unanimous vote. And also, I want to just mention that this also removes the payment in lieu of, which we've already voted.
You got down here. Yeah, I have that too. As a note separately.
Yep. So what we've done we've looked at the accessory dwelling units, we've looked at family dwellings, affordable settings, which is in the subdivision, and we've looked at the payment in lieu of. So we've covered all of the items on our agenda and voted on them. We will,
The other changes, Kirk, just to see if there's any, that may be just same thing else.
yeah, everything else is going to be the same but different. As they say in Asia.
Yeah, this is basically the same thing in different reader's aid.
Yep. Pursuant of the following.
First ADU shall be as of right.
Yep.
Shall not be allowed a short-term rental. Second ADU,
Principal dwelling.
same thing, maybe use, okay, basically say
Well,
the same thing over. That's the
It
actual
says
code.
dedicated. Maybe we ought to clarify that it is deed restricted.
Where do you see that? Sorry.
Second, B, first sentence in B.
Right where your
Yep,
cursor
yep.
is.
Better?
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
It says, okay. Good. So you're going to keep going through this and then make sure that there isn't anything else that's outstanding, Jeff? Is that what we're doing?
This is talking about how many ADUs per lot and kind of matches up. This is a type change in typo.
Is another,
It is
yeah,
when the first ADU is deed restricted for income eligible persons. Okay. These are permitted.
and it goes back to, it refers to another section in the code. That's what this is. Yep.
Now let me ask a question about number 2A, if I might.
Yeah,
If somebody is in the home share program, then they might arguably be giving a preference.
what do you mean by preference in terms of,
Well, I'm assuming preferences means you can't say it has to be a Woodstock person. Of course, all civil rights laws apply. That goes without saying. But if somebody is in the home share program and they're matched with someone,
mhm.
isn't that giving preference to the person who was selected through the home share program?
Well, yes, it does, but that is a specific program that has its own rules and restrictions, and much of it is an agreement between the property owner and the renter, and much of it is, sort of it's not written in the code about this, like that the said renter would take out the garbage or this,
No,
or-
I know, but you are saying if you go into the home share program,
Mhm.
you are saying I'm going to give preference to the person that I'm matched with. It's not open to anybody who's in that income bracket.
It's because you're
I-
going through a private program. It's a specific program, and that program designates that these are the rules and regulations if you're going to participate.
I think that Judy is pointing out a potential legal problem with the home share program, which I think is a real legal problem.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone came in that, had a demographic that the person was biased against, and they said, no, I don't want you, but I want you, that would be an issue. But
Well,
that's
then-
something we can
then
do. That's not our.
What I will do in lieu of this conversation is contact the people who run the home share program and point out to them that they should have their rules and regulations reviewed by a lawyer to ensure that they're not vulnerable to lawsuits of discrimination.
I think that's separate from this, but I do think that's a real concern.
I'm not sure it's separate, but
Well, we're not in the code, we're not going to mention a private program that's here, it's just, but I think what I can do, the code is still in motion, in terms of it's still fluid. I will address this with the
Please.
leaders of the home program and see what.
and maybe with Nan. I mean, she should be on top of this kind of concern.
Well, also,
I think our code here is a legal way to put it, is that no preference shall be utilized. Our
Yeah.
code,
yeah,
home share is
definitely,
proper or not, that's not up to us.
yeah, and
I'm
that too.
stepping away for a minute, just so you know. I need to see how much
Okay.
you guys are doing. I'll be right back.
And I just want to point out that the current home share program was modeled after numerous programs across the country. So it's not like they're making it, reinventing the wheel here. But
And they all have this kind of language, or is it just?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not up to us. We're not the home share program. I just want to focus on what we're doing here, if that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll find out more, Judy.
Okay. Would you put a comment in there, please, Jeff?
Maybe just something.
What comment do you want?
Does home share violate this?
I don't know that we want to, because we're not talking about home share. This is zoning code.
Outside of it's outside. It's really what you're,
Nothing
the
to do with
point
this
you're
code.
making, the point you're making, Judy, is valid. Okay. And so what I'm saying is that I will go outside of this, I will go to the home share program leaders and I will, verify that they need to have a land use lawyer evaluate their code to ensure that they're not going to be sued.
And pointing out this particular language because that's absolutely routine language as it is here.
And I've made note of the page.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
This is cleaning up numbers.
Yeah, numbers. Yeah. More typos. Yeah.
Okay, wait, let's see if this is. Yeah, that seems routine.
Yep.
Okay, this is.
Yep.
Yep.
Sorry, went too fast.
No, it's all right.
This is an in lieu of removal.
Yep. Good.
Yep.
This is grammatic or typos.
Right. This is the 10%.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, this is 10%.
Yep.
Again,
go back to the one before for a moment.
sure.
All right, in all other zoning districts, new lots and residents shall be laid out to promote rural character and that's good. Okay.
This is the 10%, which is a copy of what's in the other piece.
Right.
Yep.
We do need to consolidate this code somewhat, but we can't do it right now. Okay, and this is the bedrooms thing, which we're not going
We're going to revisit. We're going to bring this
to
question up later.
in the county
Yep. That's a typo.
type of, yeah. Another typo, spacing. Let's do bonus on the basis of.
Yeah, this is the, we're not, it's not
This is
today,
a bedroom related thing, I think.
right?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Typo.
Okay, this is a key one. This
This is a typo originally, and we're fixing it.
Yeah, right. I remember this one.
So this is, just to be clear on this, we're basically saying the 120 is the limit of the income affordability. If you fit within that limit, then the rent can no more than 30% of the gross income of the person.
Oh, wait. What you got selected right now is house sales price, the carrying cost of the house. It's not the rent yet.
Okay, so
Two
I'm sorry.
things,
Oh,
yeah.
So
Sale
the
and rental.
The first one is carrying cost of the house. The second one is rental.
Right.
So what this is addressing is confusion in the law and clarifying it by stating the 30% of the eligible
In the
house.
previous language, it was a confusion.
Yes, yes.
Yes. And then we also changed here, shall not exceed 120% of AMI. So we've made more people eligible for affordable.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, I think that was a typo.
I think that was a good one. All of this was, we knew what we wanted to do, but it didn't say what we wanted it to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Now
And
it's
we-
what we wanted
and we
to do.
So
caught
it's good now.
Yeah, it's good. And I believe there were some comments from the community that identified this as well.
Yeah, I think Jude is one of the ones to point this out.
Yeah. So this addresses.
Do we need to vote any of this?
No, this is.
I don't think so, because I think our
typo.
intent was always this, it's just a matter of,
It was
Okay,
our original
I agree.
intent. Yeah. It just was improperly written.
Okay,
This is about the 10%.
the same thing as subdivisions again. This is-
yeah, it's adding in the subdivision, which was the problem where there was a hole in what we had done.
Right.
Taking out the affordable housing fee entirely.
Yep,
Payment in lieu of, yep.
Yep. Payment in
Making
lieu,
it out there.
taking that out.
So now we're on the use tables, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
and this one is,
Oh, yeah, this is addressing what we're going to talk about in the future, Jeff.
Yeah. this is the bedrooms versus the units.
Yeah, we're not going to speak to this today.
okay,
I mean, it's just the context of this is that the county planning board wants us to use bedrooms for density as a density measurement instead of units. We agree with them fundamentally, but we don't necessarily know how to write it right now. So we're going to work on making sure that we write it in the same way in a way that's appropriate.
yeah,
Because it does make more sense. Basically, they point out if you have 20 units of 3 bedrooms versus 20 units of a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, the density is very different. So the bedrooms are what determine the density, not the number of units. So
Right.
it's-
You know, it may be that something like a flow chart
Yeah.
would help keep these things clear, and that, I don't know how a flow chart gets added to a law, but
So Nan is going back and forth with the county to make sure that we understand how to code it to the way that they want to code it.
Right. Well, there's certainly more to this than just what the proposed changes here.
Yeah.
So we'll have to
So we'll come back to this.
We'll come
back.
back. There's a bunch of these.
Yep.
Is that the end of it? It looks like it is.
Probably we're close to it. And this is all
Yeah.
the same thing with the units versus bedrooms. This is an example of units versus bedrooms. Again, units. This is the Reader's Aid box around the density. Same thing. So just
Welcome
to bring
back,
up to
Laura.
date, Laura, we're talking about units versus bedrooms again, which we're not going to resolve today because Nan wants to work with the county to understand better how to code this.
Oh, okay.
And that,
Okay.
just to give you the example that the county gave, a 20-unit development with 3 bedrooms is more dense than a 20-unit development with a mix of bedrooms, 1, 2, and 3s.
Mhm. Yep.
And this is also, I believe, more dense. No, this is more related to that with bedrooms versus units.
Yep.
Mhm.
Same thing, bedrooms versus units.
And referring to the various tables. Yep.
I'm glad they caught that. That's really a significant thing.
We'll see what happens with it.
Okay, this is the STR thing, so this is an accepted,
Right.
the ADUs, STRs related.
And
And there's also a place where the fee was taken out.
yeah.
This must be a grammatical. This refers back to the zoning subdivision code.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually a typo, just a subdivision. Missed the percentage sign on that,
Yep.
and we're back. That's it.
Okay. Well, this is good. We've addressed what we needed to today. I'd like to shift a little bit in the remaining minutes we have left. It's now almost 20 after 11. We'll be ending at 11:30. Judah, I'd like to invite you to make any comments if you.
Let me give her permission to speak.
We said that you could provide something in chat, but since you're the only person here, and before you get started, if you do make any comments, Judah, I'd like to thank you for attending today and taking the time out of your personal life to attend this meeting with us. And you have, if you'd like, you can let us know if you're interested in making comments. Otherwise, we will make a motion to end the meeting. You can stop sharing your screens, Jeff.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity. I don't think I'm going to say anything right now,
Okay.
but thank you.
All
And
right.
thank-
I'm glad you're able to attend and listen to what we've been going through for 2 years.
Yes,
So
it's a good example of how the process works.
it has been really, and sometimes it's been quite the energetic discussions, I can assure you. And so with that, we've reached the conclusion of our meeting, and I'm going to make a motion that we end the meeting. And before we go, though, I'm sorry, I just want to say that we do not have regularly scheduled meetings at this point. There's an effort right now to organize the comments as they're coming in. We have a document, and Jeff and Judy, you are both aware of that document. We can make that document available to you outside of Google Docs, Judy, if you prefer, and we can do that.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay.
I'm getting used to it.
Okay, good. So we're assembling the comments as they come. We do have some additional comments that we know there's additional comments because the planning board is meeting on the 29th, and that workshop will be focused on the code. Nan is participating in that meeting with the planning board. And then subsequent to that meeting will be the planning board's comments that will probably come as a single comment, much like we've received from the ZBA and other boards and committees in our town.
Kirk, are you coming to that meeting, the 29th?
Yes. Yes,
Okay. Just to be clear, I will be one day out from outpatient surgery. I will be on Zoom. How mentally alert I will be, I cannot promise.
Right. It's understood, Judy. And so we'll address that at the time when we get there. Hopefully everything will go smoothly for you at the day before. So we have other comments that are coming in. So the reason I brought this up is that we will be giving you as much notice as possible that we will be scheduling when we'll schedule our next meeting. But we want to do it when we have a body of recommendations to look at and make decisions on. And so that's why we're not scheduling things until we're ready. So keep in touch. Thanks for your participation today. And I'll be in communication with Nan about our changes. Jeff, if you could send me the document that you just used. And Judy, did you make any changes when you were sharing?
Minor ones, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, send those two documents to me, please, or whatever, however many there are. And I will coordinate with Nan to make these adjustments, and we will move forward from there. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Laura, we saw you out in the yard when you went away on the meeting.
That's
So
true, you could see
yeah,
me.
we could see you through the window. So
So you knew, I told you I was going to see what the tree guys are doing. They're
Right.
doing very well, to make a
All right,
long story
great.
short.
Good for them. All right, everyone, thank you for your time today, and we make a motion to end the meeting. We'll see each other soon. Thanks.
I'll second that motion. How's that?
Second, thank you. All righty,
Thanks all.
good night or good day.
I think the video will go to the town.
Yes, it will. Yeah, it will, because this is a town meeting. Good. All right.
Bye all.
Thanks, Jeff.
Just send it to you, Kirk.
All righty.